Hey everybody, and thanks for joining me on part 4 of how to make a VR space game in Unity. In the last video, what we did was we set up our spaceship, we got it flying, and we got it aligning with the planet. In this video, what we're going to want to do is finally start putting the VR into the game. So first off, what you're going to want to do is click the link below. There you'll find the link to the cardboard plugin. Download that and import it into your package. Once you've done that, you're going to want to open your prefabs folder here. And you'll see a cardboard main here. We're going to want to replace our cameras with that. So take the camera off the astronaut and open down his rig and go all the way to the head. That's where you're going to want to add the cardboard main. And then you can see here it's rotated the wrong way, so just rotate it on the Z 90 degrees and it should be fine. And then we're going to want to bring it up forward just a little bit so that we can so it won't be inside of the helmet, it'll be on the outside. And then also with these cameras, we're going to want to set the near distance plane or clipping plane to 0.01 and the far to something like 10,000, and then set the background back to black. Alright, so that should be good for the player. Now let's set the one up for the ship. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to duplicate this one and I'm going to put it into the ship, reset it, and looks like the camera is facing in the right direction. Let's go ahead and just move it into a decent place. I would like to have it in the cockpit, but as you can see, it's just an empty model. There's nothing there. I might model it later, and if I do, then I will provide the model on my website, but for now we'll just leave it like this. So once we've got our cameras placed, there was one more thing. I did make a few changes to the script here. You can see on the space shuttle script, all I did was I added these two game object arrays, and I called it disable list and enable list. So add those. You're gonna need those for these cameras because we're not gonna be able to disable the components on the cameras. Because the cardboard component itself, it automatically does that kind of stuff. It enables cameras and disables cameras depending on your VR settings. So we're just gonna have to disable the game objects themselves. So once you've got those arrays there, we're gonna want to go down to our enter ship and exit ship functions, and we're gonna want to do the same thing we did with the behaviors, except we're gonna do that with the game object. So for each game object, and then give it a name. In the disable list, we're gonna want to disable it when we enter the ship, and for the ones in the enable list, we're gonna want to enable them. And then it's gonna be the opposite for the exit. All right, so that's all I changed there. And then, of course, we're going to want to open our ship. We're going to want to go into our disable list and enable list, and as a matter of fact, I think we forgot to get rid of our ship's camera there. So first off, disable the ship's cardboard because we're not starting off in the ship, and then we're going to add the ship's cardboard to the enable list and the player's cardboard to the disable list. And now it should be working just fine, so let's go ahead and give it a test run. And you can see our mouse look is actually turning right now. This isn't the actual VR moving. The VR doesn't move on its own until it's on the phone. Right now you have to hold Alt in order to get it to move. And as you can see, it's working just fine. You can see we're not going into the body or anything. Yeah, it seems to be working just fine. So let's go ahead and let's try going into our ship and see how that works. And you can see the space bar to enter is still on one side. It's still just one canvas. We'll change that into another canvas right after this. Let's just test this ship out. And as you can see, our camera's working on this one too. Just go ahead, fly our ship, get going a little faster. That way we can get to that constant speed where we don't have to hold forward anymore. And then you can see, well, right now since we're in the editor, he's rotating as I rotate the mouse, but when you're in the VR mode on your phone, it's not going to rotate when you rotate your head. It's only going to rotate when you rotate the axis. And that actually reminds me, oh, looks like we went through the collider there. That's not good. But anyway, that reminds me that I didn't realize that in our input settings we don't have extra mouse arrays. So duplicate both of those, and on the bottom ones we're just going to change them to let's see here, joystick axis. And for mine, I believe it's, I can't really remember, it might be the 4th and 5th, or maybe even the 5th and 6th, or we'll just try the 3rd and 4th for now. This is going to be for the right stick. The horizontal and vertical are the left stick, and those are already set up. As you can see here, joystick axis X and Y. But with these ones, we have to set up ourselves. So mouse Y, we're going to have that be another joystick axis. Let's see here, joystick axis, and then we'll try 4th axis. Hopefully 3rd axis and 4th axis are the right ones. Usually you have to do these a couple times to figure it out. But I should probably write these down, but it's okay. And then when you first see these, the sensitivity is actually going to be really off on these. I'm not sure why they're so far off, as they are from the game here, from the mouse controls, but they're going to be quite off. So I usually like to bring them up to like 1.5 just to give it a quick test run. And then after we test it out on the phone, then we can figure out whether we need to change any certain axis that we just set or any sensitivity settings. And yeah, so now we have our mouse axis set up for our controller. So actually, you know what? I think that might be the end of setting up the VR. Let's see, I want to take a look at the script just to make sure that there's nothing being forgotten. We have our canvases being, that's right. That's one thing I wanted to do was see canvas here. We only have one canvas. And it's quite big, and it shows fully on the screen, and we want one to show for each screen. So what we're going to want to do first, there's a problem with the cardboard cameras. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. If you go down here to the left and right, you can see that the positions on the X are they're offsetted just a little bit, and they're both on the opposite side. And the reason they do that is to try to create depth perception. But it's gonna interfere with this UI, and it'll also interfere with, say, if I might be adding a gun or shooting mechanics to this, and if you aim through the sights, it won't be aligned perfectly when you're in VR mode. So we're gonna go ahead, and I'm just gonna duplicate these two cameras, and we only need to duplicate the ones on the astronaut because those are gonna be the ones that are active when this UI pops up, or say if we're shooting anything. So I'm gonna duplicate those. I'm gonna change the depth to 1 because I want those to render above all the other ones. And then I am just going to change their positions to 0 on both the x-axis for both of them. So now, after I'm done doing that, let me go ahead and take a look. And what this is actually going to take the let's see here. It's going to take that. I believe it might take that little. I'm not even sure what it is. It's that little, the black part that's around it. I'm not sure. I can just show you what I'm talking about. This part here that you can see that's all around, it'll take that off. And actually it doesn't seem like it did anything. Let me go ahead and let's try that one more time. So it looks, I think it's because we still have the cardboard eye on there. And I believe the cardboard eye might be what's making it offset. As a matter of fact, let's test it out and just take a quick look. Let me take maximize on play off. And actually, you know what? It's not offsetting it at all. This should be working just fine. Let me take a look at these. Let me just disable those, maybe just disable the game object just to make sure that that's not those cameras that are on. And it's not, and it seems to be working just fine. Let's go ahead and start on the UI. All we're going to do is just duplicate this canvas here. And both of them, instead of having them to screen overlay, we're going to have them to screen space camera. And they're going to be set to the left and right cameras. So this first one is going to be set to our left camera, and we're going to change the distance to Yeah, 1 or 2. I do want it to be close because I don't want it to be out of the screen. We'll just change it back to 1. And then we're going to change this one to have the right camera, and we'll leave that at 1 also. And then, as we had for those on our ship, we actually created. I didn't even show you that actually. Let me show you that right now. Just make sure that the canvas here is set as an array and the text is also an array. And then what we're gonna do, instead of having here where it says if within range canvas equals enabled, or canvas.enabled equals true, we're gonna have this for each statement here that says for each canvas in can, which is our array element, then canvas, which is just gonna be each of them that's in it, dot enabled equals true. And that's it for within range. And then we're going to set, if we're out of range, it's going to equal false. And then the exact same thing that we did for the text, if we're not flying and we're within range, then instead of having text equals press spacebar to enter, we're going to have for each text in text. It's going to, each of those texts are going to say that. And for now, there's only 2 of them. So just make sure you have those all set right. And then also we're going to have, if we're not flying but we are still within range, or if we are flying and we are in range, then it's not gonna display anything. So let's go ahead and give that a test and see if it works or not. You know what? I don't think we set our canvases. Let's try that again. Yep, we only have 1 canvas set there. So set the second canvas and set the second text. Alright. Now let's give it a go. Alright, that's working just fine, except for the texts are kind of big. Let's just change the size of the text here. I'd say maybe we can change the actual size of the box, and let's actually change this anchor point to the center. And then let's just bring the size of the text box down. And you know what? I want to bring it down too, because it looked like it was kind of high on the screen. Let's just bring it down somewhere about there. Position X is 0 and position Y is -50. That looks good. Let's give it another try. See how it works out. Alright, that seems to be working just fine. That looks perfect. Press spacebar to enter. And we'll probably change that to another button since this is going to be on the joystick. You'll probably want to change it to the button of your joystick. And as you can see, this is working just fine. We're able to fly our ship, and we're able to look around while flying. And yeah, our canvases are working just fine. We can get in and out of our ships. We can get out of it when we're flying if we want to. And we can just continue flying ourselves. Look around as we fall, or you know what? And right now he's actually grounded because we apparently we just hit a collider, I guess, when we exit the ship, and it didn't get the trigger exit, so we're still grounded. And that's what we're going to be fixing on that extra video. We're going to be fixing the raycast so that we could be grounded from our distance from the ground instead of having a collision, because things like this happen. You know, it shows that you're grounded when you're really not. And I am not even falling either. If you can tell, I am not falling. My ship has already fallen, but I'm not falling. So that's what we'll be covering in our bonus video. And I think I'm actually going to end this video right now. And oh, you know what? Looks like we have an error here. It says only 1 cardboard audio listener component is allowed. So maybe we can just get rid of the ship's cardboard audio. Let's see, where is that even? Cardboard head. Stereo controller. That's not it. Oh wait, I think that was the audio. Oh, there's the audio listener. So let's take the one for the ship off. So remove component, and then hopefully this one should work just fine. So let's go to our ship, and then let's enter it, and let's just make sure that that error doesn't come back. You know what? It actually is coming back, and I'm not sure why there's another audio source on these. I've only got one audio source going right now, so that's just something that we might have to figure out later. But for now, I'm gonna say that this is the end of the video. We got our VR all set up, and you can build your APK right now and start playing if you like. But on the next video, I'm gonna be showing a little extra stuff. We might just do that raycast grounding technique that I think is going to be a lot better. And then I was thinking maybe we could possibly add like a gun or something, or some shooting functions, maybe even like a simple AI to shoot back at us, and just make it into an actual game. Okay, and as always, I really appreciate your attention and your time. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe.